We're going to send it over to the Low Country's Chief Meteorologist, Rob Fowler, and also joined by Josh Marthers. Our full team of weather scientists are tracking this storm for you, and we are very concerned about the latest track of Matthew, Rob.
Yeah, we really are. As we showed you at 11 o'clock, and Josh, you and I were just talking about it, that the official track comes very, very close, uncomfortably close to the Charleston County coast.
And the thing that you have to realize too with a lot of these tracks is they are trend lines. There is rarely a sudden shift.
Right.
So each advisory is hey, this is the general idea, and based off of what Rob and I are seeing here, we would hope by now, based off of where this is, we would have at least started to see a bend. We're not seeing a bend. If anything, it still looks like it's going slightly west of north.
Right.
And if that occurs, there is a distinct possibility, if not here in the next couple of hours, a growing likelihood that we could have a landfalling hurricane on the South Carolina coast.
And that's what our biggest fear was. So again, Josh, let's talk about the graphic, and this is kind of breaking down what folks can expect.
You know, this is based off of the track. What we do here is we take a look at the track, and then Rob and I use our experience of being here in the Low Country and knowing how these storms behave. We look at the size of the storm. We look at what's happened in the past when similar situations unfold, and we give you what we kind of consider our most plausible scenario. And based off of that, we're looking at a period of 40 to 60 mile per hour sustained winds inland with gusts up to hurricane force. With as much rain has been falling overnight, many areas already at 3 to 6 inches.
Right.
The root structures of trees are already weakened. Now along the coast, you're putting that rainfall plus a storm surge. That means those trees are weakened even more. And if we get these gusts of 85 to 95, and the National Weather Service is not even ruling out 100 plus in some areas, we're going to have a potentially significant power outage problem on our hands developing here in the next 2 to 4 hours.
And we've already had a lot of power outages to begin with. And rainfall, that's 8 to 14 inches. We're well on our way, Josh, to seeing that. Flooding likely. This is the term, the surge and the inundation, that we've tried to explain. It's very difficult because we're transitioning from the old storm surge above sea level, knowing what your sea level was, and then adding water on top of that.
Right. And the thing that you also have to remember, wind, yes, that's a problem, but most hurricane fatalities occur from water.
Yes.
And these two are the ones that we're watching. We have it coming from both directions. We have it coming from above and below. And a 4 to 9 foot storm surge, or a 4 to 9 foot inundation, so to speak, this is going to cause a potentially devastating impact on areas that are around and near our tidal basin.
Yeah, and we know what happens. We are the Low Country, and that, unfortunately, that's what's going on. All right, so we look at the structure, Josh, of the storm, and again, we talked about the southern end starting to erode away, but the problem is that's what we've got to keep an eye on.
Right.
This area that's coming in from the south.
And it's taking on that higher latitude look. And I know on the satellite, if you're just as kind of sitting at home looking at it, you're going, okay, this thing's breaking up. No, it's transitioning.
Right.
It's transitioning to a different environment. These things have to learn how to survive. And what happens when they get up into our part of the country this time of year, all you have to do is think back to Hurricane Sandy in 2012. Sandy was a very powerful hurricane coming through the Bahamas, and then once it reached North Florida, the latitude of North Florida, South Georgia, southern South Carolina, the storm opened up. Well, this storm is doing the same thing. A noticeable increase in size, Rob, just in the past 36 hours. I mean, this thing was a buzzsaw coming through the Bahamas, a very tightly wound storm. And then once it got to
it's really spread out.
Right. Once it got to about the latitude of West Palm Beach, you started noticing that cloud deck begin to expand. And then during the day yesterday, I mean, I think it probably close to doubled in size just during the day yesterday.
And again, I had a chance to fly into Sandy, and that was an interesting storm. And not saying this is Sandy, but basically the hurricane itself was about 10,000 feet. Normally they're towering 40, 50, 60,000 feet. And they were flying at the top of the hurricane, and it was about 10,000 feet. But it was the expanse of the winds were just tremendous.
Right. And that's the thing, too, that you have to remember. Even though Matthew, 48 hours ago, had a Category 4 strength, those winds were in a very tight compound area. The pressure, the low pressure, was a very tight compound low pressure. Well, once it moves to the north, that opens up. And you say, okay, well, it's weakening. Well, it's really not. The velocities are just being distributed over a larger area. The pressure is being spread out over a larger area. All that storm surge that has been kicked up by those high winds and that lower pressure over a small area is now spreading out. And that swell energy is propagating, moving toward the South Carolina coast. Oh, still, what, 30 to 35-foot waves out there?
Yeah, exactly. We've been showing the wave product that we put together today. And again, unfortunately, we don't have a current position. It's 70 miles south-southeast of Savannah. They have been giving us kind of hourly updates. We'll wait on that. We still think it's, again, to the south of us, but there's the eyewall, and they're getting very, very close to the South Carolina coast, the lower coast right now.
It looks like it's about to brush that's the coast of Georgia, right there. There's Savannah right there.
Right around Tybee Island.
This would be Tybee Island, that area there, which, by the way, I'm not sure if we've gotten any reports out of that area, but earlier the National Weather Service was expecting Tybee Island to be completely cut off from the mainland.
And I think that has
happened?
It has happened. There have been some areas that were cut off, and they had a really, really high wind gust there just a little while ago. So, again, and when you look at landfall and the definition, it's the center of the eye actually crossing over a landmass.
And the center of the eye would be about right there.
So we'll keep an eye on that.
And what we're seeing is you can see that, oh, that is a nasty looking northern eye wall right there. If this thing needs to jog in that direction, because if that doesn't, that eye wall is coming right into lower Charleston County and lower Colleton County. And Rob, what are we looking at? Maybe 4 to 5 hours?
Yeah, it's probably going to be 4 or 5 hours, and then the center we think will be almost parallel with Charleston, very close, around 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning. So this is certainly nasty, and you see the rain continues. Josh, you just came in and you kind of drove through this, even though it was a short drive, but
it's coming down in sheets, and at times when the wind, now we're getting to the point too where the wind is starting to get high enough to where when it gusts, even in a car, a lot of times in an SUV you feel it, but in a car you don't. Well, you can feel it hit the steering in the car now. So those are easily 40, 50 mile per hour gusts. And the thing that you have to realize too is that with the hurricanes, with hurricanes of this nature, the winds ramp up slowly at the start and then they kind of hold steady, and then as the core moves in, you'll see a rapid acceleration in wind speed. So you may be sitting here going, okay, we've been sitting here with the same type wind for 45 minutes. This is as bad as it's getting. Once that core hits the coast, you're going to notice it.
So we eventually potentially could see a landfall, and I don't think it officially made landfall along the Florida coast.
There has been no landfall as of now.
So we'll have to wait and see, and Josh, that'll be in a few hours. We'll find out the answer to that. But anyway, any way you slice it, obviously the winds continue to increase as the center gets closer to us and the rain coming down as well. All right, Josh, we're going to send it back over to Brendan and Carolyn.